What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Master Connector Show. I'm your co-host, Rob Genovesi. And look, as you saw in that new intro, I mean, we had 200 episodes today. This is the 200th episode of the Master Connector Show. That's 200 episodes of bringing you amazing people, their stories, their experiences, their skill sets, all so we can connect, so we can level up. And, that's what the purpose is here, is to create connection with people. We want everybody to be a master connector. And as you saw in that clip too, it started over 5 years ago. I wasn't even on the scene yet, but it was Steve and Cameron. And look, 2020 was a crazy year. We were talking about this backstage, how people were jumping on and connecting with people however they could. It was the year of video. It was the year of Zoom. It was the year of just meeting people, just so we didn't go crazy during that weird time of our lives. And now here we are 5 years later, and we are still connecting with people. And look, that's what we want you to do too. We want you to be able to connect with each other. We've got a great show for you today. Oh, and speaking of a great show, we love that we have people who appreciate the show so much, and people like our friend Russ Hedge, russhedge.com. Go to russhedge.com. He'll help you successfully transform your business, connect to new customers. He's sponsoring today's show, sponsoring our 200th episode. We got a surprise guest today. We've got our scheduled guest today. But listen, if you want to be part of the sponsorship and what's going on here, we want you to be able to do that too. So go to masterconnector.show and you can learn how to sponsor an episode and also find out who's coming up. I'm sure there's somebody in our lineup, and Steve has us booked out throughout the year, somebody in our lineup that you want to hear from, that you want to ask questions of. And that's what today's show is. It's about connecting. So we want you to get in the comments, want you to show your love, want you to share this out, connect with each other. You can ask questions in there. You got a question for the guest? Put it in the comments, ask the questions, and also let us know where you're tuning in from. We love to see and hear from you no matter where you are in the world. We got people tuning in from all over the place. So listen, again, 200 episodes, a sponsorship, an amazing show about the power of yes. Have you ever wanted to get a yes out of somebody? We're going to find out from somebody who understands exactly what it takes. But listen, let's get going right now. Let me bring him to the show. The guy that started it all, the Master Connector, Mr. Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve?
What's going on, everybody? Hey, what's going on? Master Connector coming at you live and direct here. And I appreciate that, Rob. It's been awesome having you on the show. And we're pumped because, we're going to have a little cameo here. And my man, Cameron Toth, unbelievable, co-founder of this show, unbelievable inspiration to me. I am so excited. Toth Event Staffing, focused in on, I'm more on localized. That's why I think and he'll probably tell you a little bit more on why he decided to back away, but we just so appreciate him. Let's bring him to the show, Mr. Cameron Toth, the man.
Woohoo! Look at the fireworks in the background. 200th episode. Let's go.
Thanks for coming.
Sure. Yes.
Oh man, you guys are amazing. I'm so glad that you continued this. You're connecting with people. The Master Connector continues the business. Let's go.
Yeah, that's great. And Cameron, it's so amazing how we met, right? So I think I posted about it. Rob and I know go back 20, 25, 26 years. And he invited me to a networking group. And guess who was there? Mr. Cameron Toth was there. And we had a follow-up, but he may speak a little bit about it. But we had a conversation. Eventually got me, to go on your show. And that inspired me. Rob is the one who inspired me on. And these are all yeses, right? Rob said you should do video, and that's sort of that ball rolling. And then I got approved for LinkedIn Live, and then boom, I'm like, Cameron, hey, what do you think? And he's like, let's do it, and it was awesome. But Cameron, we appreciate you. You've been the foundation to this early on. Really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind, if you could just say a few words for our audience, our community, because they miss you, we miss you, but we're appreciating, and we know why you do what you do. So appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, my passion in life is education. And so I think I'll start this with Rob because Rob brings it full circle, right? So Rob, as we were sitting down in a networking group just before 2020. So this is right after the turn of the year, right, Rob? We're there, pandemic stuff is all starting up, and we're like, they've changed our meeting location. The ground is slowly being pulled out from underneath us. And we're in our last spot before things are like we're all Zoom all the time. And Rob says, listen, guys, I know this is going to be a challenging time, but in challenging times, that's when you find the opportunity. And how actually right is that, right? It's just prophetic in a sense. Obviously, there's a lot of knowledge that people pass on to and other people, and that's what this show is all about. That's what we're about, education. And so when the opportunity came to do this with Steve, he asked me, this is after a one-to-one where we had a good conversation. He listened to me. So deeply important in your networking, in your ability to follow up with people. He listened to me. He suggested this wonderful book that just really helped me with my business. And after the pandemic, I came out of it and used a lot of the stuff that was in this book. I wish I had read it back in 2011 when I started my business. I don't know if I would have been ready for it, but he recommended this book after listening to some of my challenges, some of my issues and problems, and right on the money. And so when the opportunity came to do this show with Steve, it's like, let's go, let's do it. And it was a great opportunity to say yes. And then just to sort of, focus in on, why do we move on from opportunities? Why do we go on to the next thing? I want to be able to say yes to other things, right? And so that was a big part of saying, all right, I gotta protect my time. I gotta say no to this thing so I can say yes to these other opportunities out here. And just to name a couple of things that are in the works, and things that have come out of that. LinkedIn Local Hudson Valley, which I participated with over the last year, is blown up, been huge. Similar pattern. I've recently, after doing some really good work with that, saying, no, I got to pull back. I want to do some other things. I'm building on these experiences so I can say yes to other things. And so March 12th, career day for SBI, something I've been involved with for 29 years. That's a big deal. I'm sending out invitations, but that vein of my life, I'm saying yes to more of those opportunities where I can pour into young people to connect them to jobs and opportunities in the future. And so in addition to my hat of CEO of Toth Event Staffing. There you go. You got the pink branding that came from Rob Genovesi right there, right? Bring that full circle. The brand builder, who's been intricate to putting the pink that was always a part of my presence on the Master Connector show. That brand building remains, and I'm utilizing that to.
I think Rob wore pink in honor of you, it looks like, right? So, anyway. Well, listen, we really appreciate you, Cameron. We're really blessed to have you on here with us. We got to get the ball rolling here. But
yeah, man, congratulations, man. Congratulations, guys. I'm so glad that you guys are continuing on this tradition. Absolutely. And pouring into people. Continue to do it, man.
No doubt. Thank you again. But if you're ready, let's pass it over to Rob. Type in "Let's Go" because Rob is going to introduce our incredible guest. Rob, it's all you.
All right. Thank you, Steve. What a great show so far. Thank you for tuning in. But listen, let's get to our guest. Ezio Sabatino is an accomplished marketing leader with over 30 years of experience in integrated marketing and communications. He currently serves as Chief Influence Officer at Sabatino Marketing, where he specializes in ethical influence and persuasion, certified by none other than Dr. Robert Cialdini. Ezio has held leadership roles at Access Health, Emblem Health, and Connecticare, driving significant growth in market share and brand awareness. He's a lifelong resident of Stratford, Connecticut. Ezio enjoys dogs. So do I. The Green Bay Packers, live music, and is a proud family man. Please welcome to the show, Ezio Sabatino. What's up, Ezio?
Hi, everybody. How are you? And let me congratulate you on your 200th show, guys. That is such a huge accomplishment. I'm thrilled to be here, and let's get started.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's get started. You know, it's funny. You know, it kind of came together kind of coincidentally, but I heard, I think it was Einstein that said it. He said, God, you know, in coincidence is God's way of being anonymous, right? And so it's interesting how is the yes all about yes, right? And a big part of that is how this whole show got started. And we spoke about it in the kind of the pre-show piece of it. But we're just blessed to have you on here. So, community, let's get this ball rolling. Can't wait to hear Ezio and his wisdom. I mean, he's incredible. I had a conversation with him, a couple conversations. So let's talk about decisions. So, community, type in hashtag decisions. So here's a question for you, Ezio, right? How can understanding the way people make decisions every day transform the way that that we can communicate and influence, if you will?
Well, so the first thing about decisions is what I'll share is most people don't understand how decisions get made. We all think that we're rational human beings and we make decisions rationally and we all think them through. But in fact, 95% of the decisions we make are done subconsciously. We are not even aware that we make them. If I were to ask you guys, how many decisions you feel an average person makes every day, what would you say it was?
A number?
Yeah.
I would say 50.
Hundreds.
Probably. Yeah.
What if I told you upwards of 30,000?
30,000?
Yeah.
Nah,
So you decided what to eat today. Did you really think it through? Did you drive anywhere today? Did you really think about driving there? We make decisions based on shortcuts. And there was a guy by the name of Daniel Kahneman. He was a behavioral scientist, and he won the Nobel Prize for economics based on what I'm telling you. He wrote this book called Thinking Fast and Slow. And what he discovered is our brain has two systems in it, system 1 and system 2. Well, system 1 is our fast, unconscious, really made for everyday decisions. And it's really based on shortcuts. Can be a little error prone from time to time. For example, if this item costs more than this item, the item that costs more must be better. Well, some of the time that's true. Sometimes it's not. And then we have system 2. Well, that's our conscious brain. That's our problem solving brain. And it takes a lot of effort. You ever study for a test, been part of a big brainstorming meeting, and you're mentally exhausted? Well, that's system 2. Now, if we had to make upwards of 30,000 decisions with the most effortful part of our brain, we'd never get anything done. So we make these decisions based on shortcuts. And this was something I learned in around 2004, 2005. And it was a defining moment of my marketing career.
I love that. Yeah. I got to say a couple things. Number one, I got to acknowledge Yolanda, right? We're celebrating our 200th year. I think Yolanda has been with us in the show for 200 episodes. I don't think she's missed one episode. So Yolanda, we appreciate you. And, just really blessed to have you on here. Candace is on here as well. She's chiming in as well. And of course, Cameron is in the comments. And listen, and of course, Russ, our sponsor. Russ, appreciate you. You're awesome. And listen, if you're if you're watching the show and you're not in the comments, we don't know you're here. So show yourselves, right? But anyway, Ezio, we're going to keep this rolling. I want to talk about principles, right? So community, type in hashtag principles. So what are the 7 universal principles of ethical influence and why are they so important?
Well, there's only 7, believe it or not. And most of you, when you hear them, you'll understand what they are and what they mean. There's 3 of them that are really involved for helping build relationships, which is really important for master connecting, right? And the 3 for building relationships is reciprocity. And what that simply means is people feel obligated to give back to you if you've done something to them first, right?
Right.
And then there's a second principle called liking. And liking is others say yes to us when they like us. Makes sense, right? We don't say yes or listen to people we don't know, like, and trust. And the third one for building relationships is this unity principle. And this is a principle of we-ness, this principle of togetherness. And people are inclined to say yes to people who are of us. Think about your family. How hard is it to say, when your family asks you for something, you do it, right? And there's 2 principles that help with reducing uncertainty, okay? That's social proof. If I don't know what to do, I tend to go outward and I look what others like me have done, okay? We all seen Google ratings, star ratings, okay? You don't know what restaurant to go to. You read reviews, right? And then there's other principle to help reduce uncertainty called authority. When we don't understand what to do, we look for experts. We look for people who are experts, okay? We can't all be experts in everything. So when we're uncertain on a particular thing, we look for an expert. And there's the last who help drive and motivate to action. So, and that's the principle of consistency. Consistency is, well, if I make a stand on something, I'm more apt to be true to that stance. And the last one, which is a very powerful principle, is scarcity. We all want things that are less available. Think of toilet paper in COVID.
Yeah,
I'd rather not think about toilet
Think
paper right
about
now.
not- but it's a very powerful principle. And most of these principles are primal. We're actually born with them. Okay. For example, the principle of liking. That's a principle that it's part of our DNA. And most people will go, well, liking, what does that mean? Well, we wouldn't exist as a human race if it wasn't for this principle of liking. For example, do we reproduce with people we don't like?
Not usually.
Not usually.
Some of what I hear, Ezio, what you're saying, I keep thinking this word trust comes into
Yes.
play. When you talk about reviews and star ratings and all that, and as we go back to thinking about 30,000 decisions in a day, I immediately thought, so many times I'm making a decision and it's because I trust in something that has helped me make that decision. But how does trust factor in, if at all?
Well, so say trust, I mean, trust makes us feel secure, right? Okay. And trust is a very important element of opening the door to any yes, because we instinctively know, okay, we have a radar, we have like a sixth sense to say, there's something not right about this person, or there's something I don't trust about them. We're not apt to move in their direction. So building trust is a very, very important part of getting to yes.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, so it's funny because after you and I met, and I know we spoke about this, I got to read Dr. Cialdini's book, the Influence book, right?
Right.
And then he references in that book the book about persuasion. I think it's called Persuasion. I think
Yes.
so.
Yep.
Maybe is it Persuasion or
So
Persuade?
he's written two books. One book is on persuasion, and there's the other book is persuasion, which is really what happens before you present your persuasive message.
Yeah. Well, so on the topic of persuasion, I'd like community type in persuasion, but I want to talk about persuasion a little bit. So because we're talking about yes, we're talking about liking and trusting. To me, it's in the vein of kind of persuasion and not manipulation, but just kind of leading people, right? So what's the biggest misconception people have about persuasion, and how does that hold them back?
Right. So the biggest misconception about persuasion, as you said it, is manipulation, because we've all been manipulated. These principles can be used, okay, to build relationships that are win-win, which are in the best interests of both parties. Nobody likes to feel manipulated. The biggest challenge I have is people go, oh, you teach about how to manipulate people. That's the farthest thing we do. The kind of persuasion I talk about is about free choice. Okay, I'm going to present you information that you're going to be able to make a decision on in your best interest. The best way I can describe it is getting you to do something you need to do, and getting you to want to do it. We all hate to be sold, but we all love to buy. Okay, so it's me just presenting information in a certain way that gets you to see, hey, you know what? That's somebody I want to do business with.
Yep.
It's not that I feel like I'm forced to do business with you.
Yep.
Makes sense?
Totally does. And I think we're starting to get into the realm of ethics, right? Because people, when you hear manipulation and persuasion, people start to think about, ethical challenges. And so I want to touch on that a little bit here as we dig in here. So type in community hashtag ethical, and how could we use influence in a way that is ethical, right, and aligned with genuine connection? Because we're all about human connection here on the Master Connector Show. So speak on that a little bit, if you would.
So when Dr. Cialdini originally wrote this book, he wrote this book to help people from being manipulated. Okay. But then when people were approaching him and said, hey, if we use this in an ethical way, it creates win-win situations, which is the first thing to do. Now, who decides whether an appeal is ethical or not? It's not me, it's the other person. But there's 3 rules that if you follow, you're always on the right side of ethics. And the first thing is always tell the truth. And what I mean by tell the truth, it's the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And telling the truth also means not withholding information. Like, if I tell you this, you may not move in my direction. That's what causes people to feel manipulated. Okay. That's what causes people to feel, I don't trust you. Matter of fact, if you present your weakness first, like, hey, you know what? I'm not the least expensive, but, and then you present your qualities, now you have credibility. You gain credibility. So the first thing is telling the truth and not withholding information. The second thing is, okay, these principles are powerful. You don't want to manufacture them, okay? For example, scarcity is a very powerful principle. A Black Friday sale. There's this really great TV I want to buy. I'm interested in. And the sign says it's the last one at this price. And I buy it. And the next day I go in the store and there's another one there at the same price. How do we feel, right? So then you go up to the salesperson. He goes, well, I didn't lie to you. It was the last one we had on the floor, but I had a bunch more in the stock room. Okay. Well, how do we feel about that person? So you don't want to manufacture this. And the last thing is, is it wise to do it? Okay. For example, I'll be telling you the truth. Okay. I'm not manufacturing, but is it in your best interest to take this action? Okay. And so you always, and the best way I describe it is, would you tell your mom to do this? Okay. So if you can answer yes to all those 3 questions, you're probably on the right side of ethics.
So when I hear about the ethics, and for sure, anytime I've thought about influence in the past, even though I understand it's not always for, nefarious purposes that somebody is looking to influence, but, there's always that hint of it. And I think one of the things I've often thought about, especially as a guy who develops brands for companies, is you want to be able to, branding essentially is influencing your perception of an organization, of a person. It's influencing the perception. But I think what you hit on that is so not done, and this word is overused, but being authentic, being real. See, if you're real and you are influencing what you are putting forth so that it helps the other person. If you're not real, and even if you're telling the truth, people know something's off. Like you said, there's a gut feeling there. And so that being real part of it, I have personally found is that people actually, even if you are a little self-deprecating, even if you're saying, well, I'm actually not the cheapest. And actually, this is a mistake I used to make. People trust you more because if you admit to some kind of fault, well, then you're not trying to tell them or influence them for your own purposes, correct?
Correct. Yeah, no. Correct. So I think you said it best. Influencing is about win-wins. Okay.
Yeah.
It's about doing things that are in the other person's best interest. Now, I may have an interest in it as well. Okay. But if we can create a win-win, okay, every time I deal with you, I help you, you'll want to continue to do business with me. Sure. If you feel manipulated by me, you'll do business once.
Yeah. So it's interesting, right? So a big part of what I like to speak on stage is breaking barriers to create real human connection in this, digital era, right? That's the talk I give a lot. And what's interesting is people ask, well, what's breaking barriers, right? And a big part of breaking barriers is exactly what you're speaking about. It's that authentic piece. I often speak about how I was introverted, or I was, I'm bullied. I was bullied as a kid, or I have dyslexia. And I like it because, and Rob knows me for years, and he knows the old Steve, which was a Steve that was kind of, I'll say a little stoic, because and people in my mentor would say, there's something wrong with you. Like he didn't say that, but he said like, there's something off. And what he meant is that it feels like you're holding something back. And what I was holding back was I was afraid to admit I was slightly flawed, like we all are. And people were not trusting me because I wasn't being authentic. And I think it's so important. On that topic, I want to just shift a little bit. You could share whatever you want from there, but just on let's type in hashtag small big. And we're talking about changing and evolving as humans, right? So what's an example of a small change someone can make today that would lead to big results?
So here's an example I love to use. We've all experienced this. We've all interacted with the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts, right? And this is a true story. Dr. Cialdini is very philanthropic. And one of his neighbors was the head of a Boy Scouts troop. And what the Boy Scouts do for fundraising? Well, they sell popcorn. Girl Scouts sell cookies. Okay. And what's the typical appeal that you hear from the Boy Scouts when they have a table outside of a grocery store and they come out and what do they ask you on that appeal?
Buy
probably experience. Do you want to buy cookies? Okay. Do you want to buy cookies or popcorn to support the Boy Scouts?
Right.
And when asked that way, they get about 15% yeses. Now I'm going to say the same thing, and you're going to feel this. I'm going to say the same thing. I'm just going to change the order of it. It's the small big. Say it this way, you get this result. Say it this way, you get this result. You come out of the grocery store, and this is the principle of consistency. You come out of the grocery store, and I say, "Hi, sir. Do you support the Boy Scouts?" You say,
"Sure."
Would you like to buy some cookies or popcorn?
Got it.
It goes from 15% to 55%. And most people will go like, well, you know what? It's not about the cookies or the popcorn. It's about supporting the Boy Scouts. You just made a public active commitment. Okay.
And I noticed,
you want to be consistent with what you said.
Yeah.
Most people will
say, go ahead. Finish your thought. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Most people won't even take the popcorn or the cookies. They'll say, keep the popcorn and cookies. Here's $5. Here's $10.
Yeah. You said, you didn't say, do you support? You said you support, right? Was that on purpose?
I'm asking you if you support the Boy Scouts.
Okay. I thought you said, do you support, and left the do out, which is almost like a question statement. I thought that was another part of the persuasion factor.
No, so I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to respond, well, yeah, I support the Boy Scouts. Most people will say yes to that. And then if you follow it up, well, you just said you supported us. Here's a way you can support us. More people will actually say, yeah, it's about support. It's less about the cookies. But most people make it about the cookies. Well, if I wanted cookies, I'd have them already. I just came out of a grocery store, right?
Yeah.
So it's how you ask. And that just changing the order goes from 15% to 55%. Now think about the power of that in marketing and sales.
That's the power of yes, for sure. Absolutely. Well, listen, this has been great. I know it's been a power-packed episode. Appreciate you, the latitude of letting us be a little longer on the upfront. I feel it was worth it in all fronts, having Cameron on. A big shout out to everyone that supported us today. And I know there's a lot more people that watched this on the replay. We also go on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. A lot of people are going to be on as well. But just appreciate you, Ezio. I know you have something. We're all about being go-givers and others focused. I know you have something you want to offer up to the community. If you would tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I don't know if I share this or you guys can share.
I have for you.
Yep. So one thing, thank you for being in really to honor your show. There's a way for you to learn a little bit more about these 7 principles. Okay. So if you were to scan this code, okay, you're going to get access to this free Persuasion Power course. And that every day you're going to get an email, and you're going to get, not me teaching it, Dr. Cialdini himself teaching a small bag for each one of these principles. You're going to get one every day. Okay. Also, you're going to join a community. It's the Cialdini community, and it'll be my community. Okay. So like-minded people who want to talk about ethical influence have a place to go to ask questions. There's tips out there that I can give as well. There's also a way to link into me if anybody wants to link into me to learn more about how I do this. I also have a lot of content. I post at least weekly on one of these small bigs. And it's just a way for you to learn more. And it's about me helping the community and helping you be more persuasive in a very ethical way.
That's awesome. So best way for them to reach you is through LinkedIn. Is that
LinkedIn is the best way. I'm easy to find there. My name is pretty scarce. So just look me up. I come right up, and you can either follow me or LinkedIn to me, and happy to do it.
I love it. Appreciate it. Well, we appreciate you. We're gonna have you join us in the green room in a minute here. But I appreciate you. You've been a blessing to our community. Thank you. And yes, community, say yes and connect with Ezio as well for sure. So thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Oops. All right, here we go. Sorry, button happy here. All right, community, this is great. So if you're excited about this show, you're gonna be pumped as well about our next show. Why push the boundaries with Aaron Chapman? It's gonna be a great show on the 5th, Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel, episode 201. So we're keep progressing. And if you're interested in learning more about the next shows, go to masterconnector.show, as well as if you're interested in being a sponsor like Mr. Rush Hedges in today, you can go to masterconnector.show and learn more about it. But I want to close with a quick story here, as I've been doing lately, and that is, Steven Spielberg, we know him, right? Was rejected from film school multiple times, but he said yes to an unpaid internship at Universal Studios instead of giving up. And that yes led to him sneaking into meetings, learning from industry veterans, and eventually impressing executives with his talent. That single opportunity paved the way for him to become one of the most legendary filmmakers of all times. Hey, folks, let's unlock the power of yes and be open to new opportunities so we can continue to succeed and ultimately shine our light. God bless. See you next week.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives